Why are Americans suddenly obsessed with Singapore in 2025? What makes this tiny island nation, smaller than many US cities, so fascinating to one of the world's largest and most powerful countries? From its glittering skyline to its lightning-fast innovation, Singapore has become more than just a place on the map. It's become a model of efficiency, prosperity, and intelligence. In a world struggling with inflation, political division, and inequality, Americans are looking across the Pacific for answers, and what they're finding in Singapore is blowing their minds. Today on infoSphere, we're diving deep into why Americans can't stop talking about Singapore's success in 2025. So stay tuned until the end, because reason number 5 will truly make you question everything you thought you knew about what makes a nation successful. The miracle of governance. When Americans look at Singapore, they often ask, how does this country run so smoothly? In a world where bureaucracy slows progress, Singapore's government operates like a precision machine. Every policy, from housing to healthcare, is designed with long-term strategy and data-driven thinking. In 2025, while many nations are debating political ideology, Singapore focuses on results. American policymakers are stunned by how Singapore manages to maintain one of the lowest corruption rates in the world. Transparency International consistently ranks Singapore among the top 5 least corrupt countries, while the United States often hovers around the mid-20s. For Americans tired of political gridlock, Singapore's pragmatic leadership, focused on national unity, education, and technology, is an example of how smart governance can transform a country in just a few decades. What truly shocks American observers is how Singapore blends capitalism and social welfare so effectively. Citizens live in government-built housing, but enjoy world-class private sector opportunities. It's a balance America has been chasing for decades. In short, Singapore's governance feels like what the US wishes Washington could be: efficient, forward-thinking, and trusted by its people. The power of education. Another reason Americans can't stop talking about Singapore is its obsession with education. In 2025, when US schools continue to struggle with outdated curriculums and political battles, Singapore students are dominating global rankings once again. The country's education system emphasizes discipline, problem-solving, and innovation, traits that are producing one of the most skilled workforces in the world. Americans are fascinated by how Singapore manages to nurture both academic excellence and creativity. In international assessments, Singaporean students consistently outperform their US counterparts in math, science, and reading. But it's not just about grades. Singaporean schools are now integrating artificial intelligence and future-focused curriculums designed for industries that don't even exist yet. What impresses many Americans is how Singapore views teachers as nation builders. They are well-paid, highly trained, and deeply respected. In contrast, the US faces a teacher shortage and growing disillusionment among educators. Singapore treats education as the ultimate investment, and it's paying off in innovation, productivity, and global influence. It's no wonder that American education experts frequently visit Singapore to learn how they've created such a powerful learning ecosystem. The cleanest and safest nation in Asia. When Americans travel to Singapore, one of the first things they notice is how clean and safe everything feels. It's not just the spotless streets or the lush greenery. It's the sense of order and security that pervades the entire country. In 2025, Singapore remains one of the safest nations on Earth, with crime rates so low that visitors are often in disbelief. Americans coming from cities like San Francisco or New York, where homelessness, drug abuse, and urban decay are growing issues, find Singapore almost unreal. Public spaces are pristine, public transport runs on time, and citizens respect laws that protect both people and the environment. But what's truly fascinating is that Singapore didn't achieve this through authoritarian control. It achieved it through a shared national culture of discipline, civic pride, and social responsibility. Americans admire how citizens cooperate with the government rather than fight against it. Singapore's safety is not just about rules, it's about shared values. For many Americans, Singapore represents the society they wish they could live in, a place where efficiency, security, and respect for others are not just ideals, but daily realities. Economic mastery in a tiny space. How does a nation smaller than Los Angeles become richer than most of the world's superpowers? That's what leaves Americans speechless. Singapore's economic story is the stuff of legend. With almost no natural resources, the city-state turned itself into a global financial hub, a logistics powerhouse, and a center of innovation. In 2025, Singapore's GDP per capita continues to rank among the world's highest, far surpassing even that of the United States in some measures. American economists are constantly analyzing Singapore's model, where free markets coexist with strict regulation and long-term vision. Singapore's success isn't accidental. The government strategically invests in technology, research, and infrastructure. It also attracts multinational companies with low taxes, world-class ports, and political stability. Major American corporations from Google to Tesla have regional offices in Singapore, viewing it as the gateway to Asia. For Americans, Singapore's story challenges a deeply held belief that size equals power. In truth, Singapore has proven that vision, not geography, defines a nation's destiny. A visionary future that inspires the world. In 2025, as Americans debate about the future of artificial intelligence, climate change, and digital transformation, Singapore is already living it. The country has become a real-world laboratory for the future. From driverless buses to sustainable skyscrapers covered in greenery, Singapore feels like a city 20 years ahead of its time. Americans are particularly fascinated by Singapore's Smart Nation initiative, a nationwide effort to digitize everything from public services to transportation. The result? Citizens can pay taxes, access healthcare, and even apply for housing entirely online. Meanwhile, cities across the US are still struggling to modernize their systems. Singapore's commitment to sustainability also captures American admiration. While debates about renewable energy dominate US politics, Singapore quietly achieves measurable results. Nearly all buildings are eco-certified, and the government is investing heavily in solar power, water recycling, and urban farming. To Americans, Singapore represents hope, a glimpse of what society can look like when innovation, discipline, and unity come together. It's not just a city of the future, it's a symbol of human potential. So why can't Americans stop talking about Singapore's success in 2025? Because it represents everything the modern world aspires to be. Smart, safe, clean, efficient, and united. In just 6 decades, Singapore has gone from a struggling colony to a model nation admired across the planet. For Americans, Singapore is both an inspiration and a wake-up call. It proves that greatness isn't about having the most land, the biggest army, or the loudest voice. It's about having vision, discipline, and a shared dream for the future. As you reflect on Singapore's incredible journey, ask yourself this: what would happen if more nations started thinking and acting like Singapore? If you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss another thought-provoking episode from infoSphere, where we uncover how nations rise, fall, and transform our world.